the Lost and Found podcast. This is episode 4.
Episode 4.
All right,
Okay.
we are in the
Lambert's
HQ.
basement.
HQ. We are in the man cave. All right,
no.
and we're
Yeah, it's 11 p.m. at night, and we're all really excited to do this now, as you can tell by our faces.
Definitely. We might be tired, but that does not mean we're not excited.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
We're still
I
excited.
mean, we have some big things planned for you for today. As you can see, we got some new stuff. We got some new decor. As you can see, the biggest elephant in the room, the neon sign, and yeah.
That thing is amazing. I could stare at it for hours.
Yeah.
Just mesmerized with it. Some of you, if you follow us on socials and everything, you've seen the what it looks like with the lights down, and it's just amazing.
Yeah. Follow us on our socials if you haven't already. We got some pretty cool stuff out there. We do post reels on a weekly basis, so yeah, keep an eye out for that. Yeah.
I also want to say thank you to everyone out there for just supporting us
Oh,
and giving us feedback.
Yeah, the feedback for episode 3, it was amazing. I mean, it really was, and it was nice to read it because it shows that all the hard work and all that effort that we're putting in is actually going somewhere.
Right.
So, I feel like genuinely, we have been putting in more work, and every episode we've gotten better, just little by little, and we're still getting there. We're still improving. We're still adding new things.
Yo, who picked up the plans?
That was me and Jaren.
Yeah.
That was me and Jaren.
Yeah. All right. Anyways, though, what are we getting into tonight? What are we talking about here?
So tonight we're gonna talk about how it says in Bible that God created man in His image.
Okay.
And this actually came from a question that we got recently to one of us, that someone was asking if God created man in His image, so is man God? So we're just gonna break it down, see if we can cover some topics, some stuff about this topic, and make it easier for people out there who have this question, watching to understand this topic more.
Yeah. And we'll preface all of this by saying this is a very theological topic. So if you're listening to this and you have questions, or you're listening to this and you don't get it, that's okay. You can, shoot us text, you can shoot us a DM, leave comments on the video, whatever. But it's okay to be confused about this kind of stuff because it's not the simplest thing out there.
Definitely not. I read about this topic, went online. There's so many different views about this, and it's very necessary to read in context to what it's written down in the Bible. So yeah, hopefully we get something good out of this topic today.
For for whoever might be listening that's not entirely familiar with this idea, or whoever might need a refresher, right? Where does that phrase, the image of God, where does that come from?
So I have that on Genesis 1:26. It says, "Then God said, 'Let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness, so that they may rule over the fish in the seas and the birds in the sky, over the livestock and all the wild animals, and over all the creature that moves along the ground.'"
Right. So I know it mentions being created in the image of God in multiple places, but that's the big one, right? So with that, Lambert, let's go back to your question, right, of what it means to us. What would you say?
I feel like being made in the image of God pretty much means each person is made perfect under His eyes, and that it's our responsibility to respect each other. For example, being in a relationship, your partner is created in the image of God. That means you have to respect her or him, whoever it may be, right? That goes along with everyone in this world. We should respect others,
Right.
whoever we come across, strangers. We should love them because they are made in the image of God, right? They're God's people. We are all God's people. That's what it means to me.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Bro.
I feel like that's fair, especially when you look at we're not like anybody else, which is that's kind of the root of what I would say it means to be made in the image of God. God made us uniquely. He made humans uniquely. That we are there is a divine aspect to our being. We're not merely mortal, right? After we pass on, there's more to that, right? There's the spirit. And I feel like that is a big part and the main part about what it means to be made in the image of God.
Honestly, when I hear about this phrase, being made in an image of God, I think about what is an image? I'm sure everyone here has used a social media app. Like, let's take Instagram, for example. You guys are posting a picture on Instagram, and that's not going to be like a bad picture of you. I'm pretty sure you're going to be like selecting out of those 100 pictures you took today, that one picture that you like and post it on your social, right? So what do you want that picture to do for you? You want that picture to glorify you, right? You want that image to make you look good, show the best side of you. You know, you don't want it to like put a bad light on your face or your image or anything. It has to be the best of you. So being made in the image of God, it's like you're reflecting God's gloriousness. Like you're there to glorify God. You're literally like the the reflection of God. That's what it means to be made a reflection, image of God. But that doesn't mean like you're made like God in physically. You're made like God in spiritual, like in a spiritual sense.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think it's.
Joel, what about you? You being quiet over there.
No, because I was waiting for him to finish, but I just want to add on to that. One thing I really want to stress is when it says we are made in His image, it doesn't mean that we are gods. That's not what it's saying. It doesn't mean that's not what it means when it says that we are made in God's image. It doesn't mean that now we are gods. What that means is when it said that we are made in His image, is that it means that we have His judgment, His moral code, right? Mm-hmm. His love, right? His nature. That's the stuff that He's given us, you know? And because we have that, right, that then we take that, and like Lambert was saying, right, we apply that to then our relationships. We apply that to our jobs. We apply that to our lives.
Right.
No, just going off of what you said, Joel. You said it applies that to your job and whatnot, right? I feel like being made in the image of God definitely plays a huge role in our purpose in life. You can make X amount of money and like you won't feel the proper happiness and joy, right? Mm-hmm. So if you really want to find purpose, you have to be an image bearer of God, pretty much, right? And called to Him to find that real purpose. Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And to Joel's point of we're made in the image of God, but that doesn't make us God. It doesn't make us like God. It doesn't, elevate us to His standard, or His spirit in any way. Right. And some people might hear that and they might say, okay, but then why are people bad? People aren't an all-loving God. Or they might even turn it around and say people are bad, therefore God is also bad. No, you got to get away from that, right? When it comes to things that are bad or things that are evil, that's sin, and that's the result of the original sin committed by Adam and Eve in the garden, right? When we say that we are made in the image of God, that's in reference to the original blueprint, the original intent behind mankind's creation, right?
No, I totally agree with you on that. Like, we are born in sin because of the first sin by Adam and Eve. And there's actually a Bible verse for that. Like in Romans 3:23, it says, "For all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God."
Yep.
So that means like everyone who is born in this world have sinned because of that first sin. So we are already falling short of the glory. That's why Jesus Christ came to this world, to show us the path back to the heaven. Because we are already like on our way going to hell. Right. We want to be saved from that.
Can I shoot a question out there?
Yeah.
So, I mean, some of us are in college right now, but how would you navigate life as a college student? Being an image bearer of Christ. How would you guys apply that?
That's a good question, and I feel like, a lot of people struggle with that a lot.
I mean, it's not an easy task, yeah.
It's not.
Yeah.
But I'll let you guys take that, seeing as, of the
what do you mean by that?
I went to community college, so things are a little bit different for me.
Did you dorm?
No.
You didn't dorm?
Nope.
Who here has dormed?
I have.
You have?
Yeah.
Was it like peer pressure? How was all that?
Man, I mean, listen, like I truly understand why people fall into that type of sin. Mm-hmm. Into partying, into drinking, into smoking, into maybe hanging around the wrong people. And I feel like that all stems from the fact of wanting to feel involved, wanting to feel belonged, and kind of like what you were touching about before, right? About how your image should be from God, and I feel like a lot of struggle that people go through nowadays, especially in college, is they don't know who they are. They don't know what their purpose is, right? They don't know what that is. And so then that's why they feel depressed. That's why they feel angry, because for us, it's so easy because whenever we feel lost, whenever we feel like we have nowhere to go to, we have someone that we can put our entire trust in, right? At the end of the day, people are going to betray you, right? That's our nature, right? From the original sin, right? That's our nature, right? We're not perfect, right? We're not holy like God is, right? So when those struggles come, when those temptations come, when that anger comes, when that depression comes, we have someone that we can put our trust in. We have someone that we can put our hope in, and we can go to him and go into prayer and, talk to him about it, right? When we feel like we have nowhere else to go. And I feel like a lot of times, even as Christians though, like it's so easy to fall into oh, my friends are doing it, so, let me go.
Yeah.
Or my friends are going out today, so hey, if I go out this one time, it's not going to be that big of a deal. Or, if I go out on a Thursday, what's the difference between going out on like a Saturday after a meeting or going out on a Thursday? What's the difference between that? And it's so easy to fall into that, but at the end of the day, it is wrong. At the end of the day, it is, and I don't know, I just feel like it's really easy to fall into that.
Yeah.
I mean, I never dormed in college, so I didn't have that peer pressure around me, but it was definitely a great idea to surround yourself with like Christ-minded people, because they push you to become closer to Christ, and just being surrounded by people that loves you, that doesn't judge you for who you are, that plays a huge role in your life. Yeah.
So Jaron, I want to ask you this question, right? Like Joel already shared what the experience was kind of like at Temple, and there's nothing against Temple, but it's a very different environment at a Big Ten school.
Yo, don't call my school like that, bro. Yo, chill with that. Yo, Temple represent.
Nah, bro. Nah,
Go
keep talking,
Listen,
bro. Keep talking.
okay.
Go
bro.
out.
Oh, okay. All right, buddy. Hoot hoot.
No, Penn State's better, bro.
But listen. It's very different at a Big Ten school. Whether it's Penn State, West Virginia, Alabama, whatever. Or really just any school that has that heavy party culture.
Yeah, I mean, when you're talking about Penn State, it's like the biggest party school. Everyone knows Penn State about, for their parties, the whiteouts, the state patties, all that stuff. I mean, yeah, it's like pretty hard when everyone around you is about that culture. It's pretty hard to find people who are, God-centered in a biggest party school in America. Like everyone, you most likely are going to be dorming with people who are going to be going in these parties. And, when it comes to like being God-centered, it's like, it's more on a personal level. Like you got to be focused on what your life goal is, right? Like what do you want to be? What do you want to do? But in college, it's not clear for you. In college, you don't even know like if your major is right for you. So when you're living with people who are doing all this stuff, like going out partying, and it's very easy to like fall into peer pressure. A lot of people are gonna make that mistake, and that's where it comes down to. Like you gotta, we see Joel laughing here because I'm sure he has fallen into peer pressure and he's thinking about those times.
Yeah, we're probably all like thinking in our heads
like
about
some moment. Yeah. No, I mean, it's a stage in your life where you gotta think about what's important to you. And the way I found this group, the way I found you guys, like right now I'm doing the stuff that I would have never imagined I'll be doing, like this podcast, this whole setup, talking about God, like even learning about all these topics we talked about so far. I wouldn't even imagine that in my college, bro. Like my friends, I couldn't even think of anyone who I would like talk about all this stuff with, and you guys, we made this whole setup, like a whole podcast about it, and I'm learning so much from it. So it shows like how much it matters, surrounding yourself with people who are talking about God. Your whole life could be different by the people you hang out with. And in college, that's what matters. If you're hanging out with people who are, talking about God, following his words, just being a reflection of God, you're gonna be like that. You're gonna, do the same things that they're gonna be doing.
And I think a big thing that we should focus on in terms of God's image is I feel like God's image ties in so much to your identity, right?
Yeah.
And who you are. And your identity matters a lot because it also reflects on your actions and the things that you do on a daily basis, right? So, like we were saying, like the people you hang out with, what you do in college, right? The stuff that you partake in. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, like we were saying earlier, right? We have God's nature, we have His Spirit, we have His love, we have His peace, we have His good joy, His kindness, all that stuff, right?
And I feel like we should focus on this thing, like when you're coming into Christ, you're talking more about Him. You don't have to be the perfect person
Yeah.
to be able to talk about God, to learn about Him. Everyone has sinned. Everyone was born a sinner. And when you're talking about, oh, this guy has done this in the past, everyone has done something bad in the past that you're not forgiven in God's eyes. But that's the whole point of, coming into Christ, because you are trying to represent Christ now. You're trying to be His ambassador. You're trying to be better than the person you were before. Yes, you have sinned, but how are you today? Like, are you trying to learn more about God? Yeah.
Right.
Even in the Bible, it talks about crucify your old self and take that new cross and continue the path with Him. So even though if you may have a bad past, whatever it may be, right? God doesn't really care about that.
Mhm.
He died on the cross for you, no matter what you do.
I have a verses for that actually. Like in 1 Peter 2:21, it says that to this you were called because Christ suffered for you, leaving you an example that you should follow in His steps.
Yeah.
So He left you an example of how you should be living. Like he's literally like giving you a walkthrough of life. You just have to follow His steps
Living in the image of God.
in the image of God.
Bro,
Yeah.
you can even apply that to your finances too, right? Like instead of like spending lavishly, put some money aside for, people that are in need, or tithe, right? Investing into something rather than just like splurging away. Because at the end of the day, bro, God gave us a breath. Like He gave us the ability to breathe, right? To wake up in the morning. So everything at the end of the day is His, right? And we should do everything we can to glorify Him.
Yeah.
And God, Jesus Christ, when He was on this earth, He set that example for us, right? He set that image that we should follow, right? We're made in that image, right? And when He was on this earth, He set that image exactly in the way that we should follow it, in generosity, right? In the way that we speak, in the actions that we do. He set that example. He set that image. So we should go ahead and follow that.
Yeah. I mean, going off of that and kind of mentioning what we were talking about before, but it's, none of us are perfect, right? You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be, living as sinless as Christ, right? You don't have to, because like we already said, the being made in God's image was the original blueprint that was corrupted by sin, right? And we can't undo that of ourselves, right? But that's why Christ came, so that we can go back to that original blueprint, so that original blueprint would be restored, right? So you can't think to yourself, oh, I've sinned, and therefore I'm not made in the image of God, and that invalidates my faith, right? It's not how that works. Sin has corrupted the blueprint, but Christ has restored the blueprint, right?
And when the phrase, you all have heard this phrase, like your body is the temple of God. You're not the temple of God. Your body is the temple of God. The way you're made, you're supposed to glorify God. You're supposed to be like the reflection of God, because you're supposed to take care of your body. You're supposed to not do any drugs or, get drunk or, all that stuff. Like you got to take care of that because you're representing.
Even you could take it even simpler than that, right? We have to eat every day, right? We have to drink water, right? We have to bathe ourselves.
Yeah.
We have to clothe ourselves, right? Simple things like this.
Basic necessities.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's like that. Oh my gosh, what's that one song? Bare Necessities. That's what that reminds me of all the time. I'm not gonna lie.
Sing it for us, bro.
The sing it
Let's
for
hear the
you?
vocals.
Absolutely not. No.
No, he has a pretty good voice. He's just shy.
Yeah, if you know, you know.
I'll stick the drums, bro.
That's crazy, bro.
Don't ask me to play keys again. Not after that. Not after that. Don't ask me to play keys again.
So there's like few points we can get off from all of this. Like there's like a moral aspect of it. Like we know what's right and wrong, right? We have an understanding. And second thing would be like a mental thing. Like we can reason logically, like whether we should be doing that or not. Like that's like a logical reasoning aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's like set apart to humans than animals. Like animals don't have that. Spiritually, we are different because we are able to connect to God spiritually. We're able to understand Him, walk in His path, and follow Him spiritually. And the fourth thing I would say is relational. Like we can build relationships, we can build a fellowship, we can start a church, we can take care of each other. That's like a relational aspect of it. All of this, I would say, comprises of being made in His image. Like understanding, moral aspect, mental aspect, spiritual, and your relational.
So, Jaron, you were talking about those five or those the four elements, right? The moral, the mental, the spiritual, and then the relational, right? And when you think about all those four elements together, those are, we should be portraying those characteristics as image bearers of Christ, right? And I can't help but think, and I know we were laughing earlier when you mentioned peer pressure, because we were all thinking about, how many times have I been peer pressured? And, kind of in the same way, I'm thinking about, in my past, have I really been a truthful and an effective representative of God? Have I really been, that image bearer of Christ that I'm supposed to be? And, if I'm speaking honestly and candidly, I can't say that I have been. I've been a terrible, terrible image bearer of God. So I was just wondering, what would you guys say to that? Do you guys think you've, done His image justice?
No, definitely not, bro. No, I mean, I feel like if anyone feels like he has been a good image bearer, it's probably not true, because everyone in this life must have like done one sin that's always like not right, because it's pretty hard. Like there's something that you have always done that is not like Christ-like, but at the end of the day, like that's like what Christianity is about. Like the more righteous you become, the more weight of that sin grows on you. And personally, on like if I talk about myself, like I haven't been a good image of God, definitely. And being in college, being in India, coming to a new country, it's like different culture. When you're not like hanging out with people who are Christ-like, you definitely tend to like, act more like the world. When you're living with the world, you're being around the world. But that's what Christ calls us out to do. And that's what I have come to realize now. Like, you need to get more close to your God. You need to get more, know your Creator. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not a perfect human being, and I made a lot of errors in the past. It's always been a struggle for me, just going to college and whatnot. But I even said this in the earlier podcast. It's important to analyze yourself at the end of the day. Like think about like at the end of the night when you sit down in your secret room, in your prayer room, really think about like what went down today. Like if you did anything bad, really analyze yourself and try to get better at it, Try to fix yourself to become more of an image bearer of Christ.
Right.
Right. And at the end of the day, it's not about perfection. It's about your growth towards Him.
Right.
That day-to-day wins, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can say for me personally, growing up, in the environment that I was in, surrounded by the people that, on a daily basis, I felt like I was trying to be somebody I wasn't, trying to fit in a lot and trying to act cool or act a certain way to please other people rather than please God,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I can say I feel like for a long time in my life, I didn't uphold the image of God in my life. I didn't uphold that lifestyle in my life. And I feel like as I continue to get older, I learn more and more, right? I try to strengthen myself in the Word of God, and understand it to a deeper level so I can live my life according to God's will, according to His image, more and more. And I feel like, now, obviously it's still a struggle, but I feel like I am definitely doing better than I was 10 years ago or 5 years ago or even a year ago or a couple months ago.
Yeah, and like Lambert was saying, it's about that growth.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
And, growing up in our community and in our lifestyle, most of the people, in our churches are a part of the worship team. They're a part of some type of ministry, whether, for us, it's our podcast, but we're also involved in the worship team too. And in other churches, they're also involved in ministry or on the worship team. And upholding the image of God, especially when you're in ministry, is super important because you're putting your life out there, right? You're putting yourself out there to be criticized, right? Because if you're living one way, right, in church and in front of the cameras, but then when the cameras are off and, you're with your school friends, right? Are you living a double life? That type of thing. It's so important that you stay pure, right? You uphold that image no matter where you are. And I think another thing in our community is the concept of gossip, and when we try to say that we're upholding the image, right? In our community, gossip is such a big thing. So I'm wondering what your guys' opinion on that is.
Yeah, I mean, I'll let you guys go first because I know you guys know how strongly I feel about that stuff. So before I start, rambling on and on, what do you guys think?
Yeah, gossip is a pretty big thing in our community for sure. Like, people love to talk behind people's back, and when if you're talking about our community, it's very tight knit. Everyone knows each other. Like, even if you go on a different state in America, there's gonna be 2 or 3 people in every church that knows you or your family or grandfather or great grandfather. Oh yeah, I knew him back in Kerala. Someone's gonna come up to you saying that, and
they ask oh, Mona, do you know who I am?
Yeah, not delivered.
No idea. No, but I say I do.
Yeah, and they'll be like, yeah, no, I was at your baby dedication. It was like, oh, my bad, I don't remember you.
I mean, when you consider that, everyone loves to talk about each other, whether it may be in a good way or a bad way. They just like to talk about each other, and a lot of people don't realize if it's in a bad way. They just talk for the sake of talking because we love our community loves to talk. So that's where there's a fine line between whether you're talking bad about someone or good about someone. You're just talking.
Yeah, I think even the Bible talks about only talking to others in a way that motivates them, pushes them to become good, right? Not talking bad about others. I mean, my perspective with gossip, I hate gossip.
Yeah.
Simple as that. I just hate it.
Yeah.
I don't see why people get satisfaction with speaking behind people's back. At the end of the day, bro, it doesn't do anyone any good.
Exactly. Yeah.
And even the other person may find out about it, and that person may go into self-hate or depression and whatnot, and it's just a spiral down from there.
Yeah.
No, it's a fact. If you can't say anything good about someone, you shouldn't say it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Exactly.
Sure.
I feel like the thing that starts then is once one person says something about someone else, then it's it's a rumor mill, and then it spreads all around, right? And not even just specifically to that church, then it spreads to other churches,
Bro, it doesn't even have to be churches, bro.
Yeah.
In general,
Yeah,
bro. It just goes around.
Yeah.
Even in the Indian community, bro, everyone knows everyone. we're everyone's cousins, dude. We're all related somehow.
Yo, that's crazy, bro.
One big thing is once an opinion is formed about you, that sticks with you.
Yeah.
So, for example, if you were to bring up somebody's name, 20 people would be like, "Oh, that person's alcoholic," or like, "Oh, that person, he or she sucks," or they have a bad rep.
And a lot of them don't even know about
Exactly.
it. They just
don't
heard
know
it.
a single thing.
Yeah.
But if one person's saying it, right, that you're closer with whoever, then it's just like the whole group tends to agree. And that opinion of you, it sticks. And it could stick for the rest of your life. And it could ruin your ministry, it could ruin the people or the opportunities that you could get, and that could lead to self-hate, self-harm, depression.
Bro, sometimes you haven't even met the person and you're already prejudging them.
Exactly.
Right.
You don't even know the person.
Yeah, you don't know the person,
Yeah.
but you've heard so much about them already.
Exactly.
That's negative.
Right.
That then influences how you look at them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I mean, like, what you guys know, I hate the he said, she said game more than anything else.
That's
in
your
our
favorite
community.
saying.
I
Oh
swear,
my
Favorite saying.
goodness.
this dude Charleston talks about that every single
Oh
week.
my gosh.
That's your quote. Bro.
Yeah. And you know why? You know why it sucks? It's because there's something new every single week.
True.
Okay. And it's just it's tiring. Like you said, it doesn't benefit anybody. It doesn't benefit the person who's talking. It doesn't benefit the person they're talking about. It doesn't benefit the person they're talking to. Just everybody comes away with it lesser than they went into it with. And when you talk about the rumor mill that shows up, and how your first impression on somebody might not actually be your first impression if they've heard about you before. Okay, like think about it this way, right? You guys know stamps, just normal regular stamps with an ink pad and whatever your shape or signature or anything, symbol, whatever, right? So what do you do with the stamp? You take that stamp, you put it on the ink pad, that ink gets on the stamp, and then you put it on a piece of paper and you go bam, and then there's that image on the piece of paper, right? That is the direct impression of the stamp, okay? And it's ink, it's wet, right? So imagine for a second, you do that, you put that stamp in the ink, and then you put that ink on the paper, right? Now imagine you take another piece of paper, slap that right on top of that wet ink. Okay, when you pull those two pieces of paper apart, what are you going to see on that second page? Is it going to be direct impression? No, it's not.
It's gonna be the opposite.
Yeah, it's going to be distorted. It might seem patchy. The color might not be as vibrant, right? There might be pieces missing. And in the same way, if you do it a third time, and if you do it a fourth time, eventually.
Are you talking about that rumor thing? Like,
Yeah,
when you
like-
pass that around,
Yeah,
just
like,
goes
this person tells
completely
this
off
person,
topic.
this person tells this person tells this person, and by the end of it, what you're left with isn't even a resemblance of you at all. Okay, and that's what happens so many times, and it's just it's incredibly frustrating because if you're in it, it can seem it's anxiety inducing, like you said. It drives people into self-esteem issues, depression, all these other things. It drives people to start thinking a certain way, be more reserved, whatever it might be. But if you're on the outside of it, it's just frustrating to watch, people who you're acquainted with, even people you might be close to, engage in that behavior, and just it's like can't you see, like you're not benefiting anybody else? Can't you see you're destroying your own rep on top of anybody by engaging in this stuff? It's
And-
just frustrating.
And when it comes to being the image of God, at the end of the day, you got to realize, like, if you're talking about someone behind their back, if you're spreading rumors about someone, like, even if you don't mean to, you're actually, like, showing a bad image. Like, showing
You
that-
are distorting
Yeah.
the image of God.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
You are ruining the image of God. That's
And-
exactly what you're doing when you're spreading gossip, when you're spreading rumors.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, we are all called, we are all made in the image of God. So then when you're spreading false information, when you're spreading gossip about other people, you are ruining the image of God.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good.
And the first person to do that? The first
Exactly.
one to do that was Satan in the garden,
Mhm.
right? When he said, "Did God really tell you to do that?" Right? Well, the reason he said this must be because he was thinking this, right? How many times have we heard that? Oh, the reason they did this, they must be thinking this way, right? Did you talk to them? No. No, you heard about what they did from somebody else who heard about it from somebody else, and now you're making an assumption about where their head's at. Okay, in the same way, when the serpent came to Eve, right? He said what? He said, "Oh, God doesn't want you to eat of this fruit because then you'll have all of His knowledge."
That was like a whole rumor started by the Satan.
It's like, oh yeah, he did this because starts basically like putting words in his mouth,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which is something that we see in our community a lot.
Yeah.
So, and I know I don't know that example. When people hear that example, if you hear that and you start trying to justify it, you're like, well, is that really true? That's kind of extreme, Charlie, et cetera, et cetera. I'd advise you to take a look at, why you're trying to justify it. Are you talking about somebody, behind their back? Are you trying to make yourself feel better about something? But yeah, it's just all in all, it's just nobody comes away from it better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I know there was some points that you wanted to highlight.
The big three ideas in modern Christianity, the big three views on what it means to be made in the image of God, right? There's the substantive, there's the relational, and then there's the functional, right? Substantive basically hinges on our morals and ethics coming from God. Relational is we're able to have that personal relationship with God. So in order to for humans to be unique in that way, we are made in the image of God. And then functional kind of looks at we are unique in that we are the ambassadors, quote unquote, of God on earth. For that, you can think of how God tasked Adam with naming all the animals, right? There's an example of that. So these are the big three, and they're not exclusive of each other. Just because you believe one is correct does not mean that you believe the other two are wrong. You can say one is correct. You can say two of them are correct. You can say all of them are correct. It doesn't matter. These are just different viewpoints and interpretations. That being said, we do always encourage you to look this kind of stuff up on your own, and really pray about it, dive into scripture, see what other people, other theologians and everyone else has to say about it. And you can always find more information if you just, you can contact one of us, slide us a DM, leave a comment, whatever it might be, and we'll get back to you.
Yeah. Okay.
I guess that's a wrap for episode 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was amazing, bro.
Yeah.
So one thing you do want to make sure though. So if anybody does have any prayer requests or anything they do want to reach out to us and they do want to say, or any questions they may have, like we were talking earlier, feel free to reach out. Don't be shy. We will take the time to respond to each and every single one. So, yeah.
And we really appreciate everyone who reached out already. Like we definitely got a few responses on some topics that we need to cover, and we are planning to cover them in the next few upcoming episodes. So yeah, stay tuned for that.
Yeah. And you can reach out to us in any way. You can DM the podcast account, DM our personal accounts, shoot us a text message,
or show up at Lambert's house. I mean,
yeah, sure. Show up at Lambert's house when we decide to record. You may or may not be right. If you show up just kind of unannounced, we might not be there, and then Lambert's mom will cook you food. That'll be all right. A lot of us in person. So you can just tell us in person the next time you see us, whatever it might be. Just don't hold on to your questions because you don't know where or how or when to ask.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's a wrap.
All right.
That's a wrap.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Episode 4.
Episode 4.